Hello, everyone. How are you this wonderful morning? And I want to check. I have been having some technical difficulties this morning, so that just means technology has been a little bit difficult this morning. So I want to make sure everyone can see me and can hear me all right. So, okay, Leo, you guys can see me? Can you guys hear me all right? Okay, JB says it's working for me. Hello, Rosa. I'm here. Okay, good. Can you guys, oops. You see and hear me? All right, just one moment. I'm making sure that everyone can see me and hear me. Okay, oh good. It sounds like you can. That is wonderful. So, hello, all my wonderful friends and students. How are you today? And as always, it is appropriate for me to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or even good night, wherever you are at in the world, because we know we have so many great friends and students from literally all over the world. And as I've said before, I think it's just amazing that we can be in different parts of the globe and be connected, learning English together. And it's so fun for me to be able to make friends with students, but it's also really great that you guys are able to make friends with each other all around the world. And that's part of the magic, we would say, of language, right? That language can help us connect together. Brian, good morning from Honduras. Good morning. Hello in Honduras. I hope you are doing well. Array says, let's get down to business. Yes, let's get down to business. And that just means let's get started. We will get started soon, but I like to say hello to everyone. JB says the internet is a blessing. It's true. Sometimes the internet drives me crazy when it's not working, like it was this morning. It was not wanting to work very well, but thankfully, it is working, so we can get started on today's lesson. And as always, hello to our usual subscribers and our usual viewers, and a very warm welcome to all of our new students and friends. And I always like to say, if you're new joining the class or you're watching this video after it's been posted to YouTube, you'll see me look over to my left, and that's because we have our live stream going and all the students can ask questions or make comments. But with that, since we only have an hour of time together, which isn't a lot of time, especially since we have so much great information and so much great content to go over, that if I'm not able to answer your questions, or if you have a comment, something you want to say, once this video is posted, please scroll all the way down to the bottom. There's the comment section, and you can leave any of your comments or your questions. And with that, I was looking back over the last couple of weeks, and I see that I have some questions on previous videos that have been posted that I will go through today and get answered for you. So, excuse me. All right, good. Looks like everyone's here. Adriana, welcome. Oh, hello, Mr. Vivek, Baptiste, yes, Rosa, Natty, Diary, the French Leo, and yes, JB, again, all of our wonderful friends that join us every week. You guys are such good students. You're fantastic students. And as a teacher, I very much appreciate it. All right, so let's get started. So last week, we had so much good information to cover that we didn't totally get through the lesson. So with that, if you would like to go and review, if you would like to study more on this lesson, it is video 52. If you want to go back, watch the first half of this lesson, the second half of which we will be finishing today. So again, the first half of this video, the first half of this lesson is video number 52 if you want to go back and watch that. And again, with what JB said, the internet is magical. It is. And what's really nice about these videos is I know sometimes we go quickly, we have to go fast because we have so much great information to cover. And that's what's fantastic about these videos. You can go back and watch them as many times as you would like. And I would venture to guess that probably every time you rewatch a video, there's going to be more information that you learn or more information that maybe you didn't understand the first time, but watching it a second time can be very, very helpful. So with that, oh, Miss Rosa, I hope you're not having internet problems. Oh, I'm sorry. And Rosa, yes, I remember you broke your leg like a month ago, 3 weeks ago. I hope that's doing better. I understand how frustrating that can be. Absolutely. So, Miss Rosa, I hope you are doing better. And again, everyone, thanks so much for being here. So let's continue on. We were talking about have to and need to. And as we were ending class last week, someone posted a comment that was a really great comment and question. And so I wanted to address that real quick. Someone asked, what about coulda, shoulda, woulda? Since once more, we're talking about have to and need to. So what is coulda, shoulda, and woulda? And that is a fantastic question, and it is slang. It is slang English. So coulda is short for could've. We can hear that it sounds very, very similar. Coulda, could've. And of course, could've is short for could have. In the same way, shoulda sounds very similar to should've, which is short for should have. And of course, our last one, would've, sounds very similar to would've, short for would have. So coulda, shoulda, woulda, that is slang English. It's also an expression if someone says, well, I was going to do this, but coulda, shoulda, woulda means, yeah, maybe you could have done it, maybe you should have done it, maybe you would have done it, but you didn't do it. So coulda, shoulda, woulda just means it's of no use. It's of no consequence. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. But great question that we had in our live feed at the end of last class. So I wanted to address that because, of course, it's very important to also know slang English, especially in our listening, because not so much in our writing, unless it's very informal writing like text messages or even sometimes emails. But in our listening, we know that we'll hear a lot of English slang. And so even though this is improper or informal slang English, I think it's still really helpful to know because you will hear it. So coulda, shoulda, woulda. Short for could have, should have, would have. All right, and then with today's lesson. Right, so when we are talking in the negative, we've studied that must has a very similar meaning to have to and need to. And the example that I gave is it's starting to get very warm in Spokane. It's been about 85 degrees Fahrenheit during the day. So if you want to do the conversion or the calculation, what that would be in Celsius, about 85 degrees Fahrenheit, which is getting very warm. And it's beautiful here in Spokane. But as I used in my example, I have a garden and I have a lot of flowers. And so every morning I need to make sure that I water my garden, that I water my flowers, otherwise they'll die. We know that plants need water. So my example, I must water my garden. Very similar, exact meaning a lot of times to have to and need to. So I must water my garden. I have to water my garden. I need to water my garden. All three of those are showing that something is important, that it is a necessity. So if something is necessary, it means it must happen. So I must, I have to, I need to water my garden. Example that we had last week, hopefully that's a helpful one to understand. Now, when we're talking in the negative though, know that must, have to, and need to, we only use those in like ways when we're using them in positive sentences. In the negative sentences, their meanings are different. So as I've apologized before, I know that English sometimes is crazy, and that's really true for a lot of languages. I've had students say, "Oh, don't worry, teacher, our language is crazy as well sometimes." And with that, I just mean that there are a lot of rules that you have to memorize, that you have to know, and I would say that the best way to learn those is just a lot of review, a lot of practice, and there is some memorization where you just have to memorize the rules. So here's another rule for you to memorize. When we are using them in the positive, must, have to, and need to mean the same thing. But in our negative, when we're using them in negative sentences, their meanings, now they're very different. They cannot be used in the same way. Let's look at the examples and why. So mustn't. Once more, whenever we see that contraction, whenever we see that apostrophe, we know that we took two words and we shortened them down to just one word. So mustn't, we know, is short for must not. So if we say you mustn't do that, you must not do that, what we're expressing is that it's not okay. It's not okay, it's not all right to do something, right? So you mustn't do that. You must not do that. It's not okay. Now let's look. So our first example, you mustn't smoke here. You must not smoke here. We're saying it's not okay to smoke here. So obviously I am in one of our classrooms and you mustn't smoke here. Cannot smoke here, obviously. Our second picture, we have a little kiddo and he's playing with an outlet. There's electricity. We know that that can be dangerous, or in the very least, if you get shocked, it can be painful. So you mustn't touch this. Okay, we know with children a lot of times, children are very curious and they want to learn and explore the world. And so they're always touching things or grabbing things, and they don't always realize that it might be dangerous. You mustn't touch this. Okay, so we're saying don't do it. It's not okay. Don't do it. Do not do it. You mustn't do that. Now, with our have to and need to, with our not, when we're making it in the negative, we say you don't have to or you don't need to do that. What we're expressing is that it's not necessary. And again, Necessary, necessity. If something is a necessity, if something is necessary, it means it must be done. So with this, you don't have to or you don't need to do that. We're saying it's not necessary. You don't have to. You don't need to. It's not a necessity. But when we use have to or need to in negative sentences, although it means something is not necessarily necessary or it's not important to do, it still means that you can do it if you want to. You can do it if you want. That's different than mustn't, because mustn't means you absolutely must not. You must not do something. It cannot happen. It is against the law, at least in America, it is against the law to smoke inside a building. If a little kid is touching electricity, we know that cannot happen. They can get hurt. So mustn't, must not means absolutely no. No, no, no. It cannot happen. That's a little bit different than not have to, you do not have to, or you do not need to. It means that something's not necessary, but you could still do it if you wanted to. So you have a choice. You don't have to. It's not a necessity, but if you want to, you can. Let's look at our examples for that. So our first one, I don't have to study tonight because I don't have a test tomorrow. Or I don't need to study tonight because I don't have a test tomorrow. So we know that when you have a test, it's a really good idea to study and study more than you usually do. Because of course, I know all of my students every night, every evening when they are at home, of course they study every night. I do know that they study a lot more when we have a test or a quiz or an exam. But if you don't have a quiz, you don't have a test, then you don't have to study as much. You can. You, of course, have the option. You can choose to study. But with our example, I don't have to study tonight because I don't have a test tomorrow. Or I don't need to study tonight because I don't have a test tomorrow. It means it's not necessary. It doesn't have to happen, but you have the choice if you want to. Our second one, Bill doesn't have to work tomorrow, or Bill doesn't need to work tomorrow. Now, of course, if Bill wanted to, he could work, but it's not a necessity. Let's say it's a holiday or Bill has vacation, so time off. Bill doesn't have to work. Bill doesn't need to work. He has the choice. He has the option if he wants to, but it's not a necessity. It's not something that he must do. So give me a moment. I'm going to check over and our questions. Leo says you must not cheat. That's true. You must not do that. It's not an option. It's not a choice. If you want to cheat or if you don't want to cheat, you must not do that. Absolutely no. Good example, Leo. Batul says, Miss Nicole says to tell everyone hello. If you're not familiar, Miss Nicole was the teacher that did these videos, the pre-intermediate English videos, before I started doing them. And so she says hello to everyone and that she misses you guys and she hopes that you're doing well. So there, to answer your question, is some news with Miss Nicole. All right. So looking, seeing any of our comments. Good. Looks like you guys are understanding them. Excellent. Let's continue on then. So let's notice some of the differences. So the ways in which all of these must, have to, and need to, some of the ways that they're different again. Oh, our first example, you mustn't drive. You must not drive. You are too sleepy. So we're saying this cannot happen. It's not okay for this to happen. You cannot drive. It's not okay. It's not a good idea if you drive. You're too sleepy. You mustn't drive, right? So we're saying no. It's a necessity. In a different way, for our second example, you don't have to drive. I can do it. So we're saying it's not necessary. It's not a necessity that you drive. I can drive. Well, that of course means that you still have the choice, you still have the option if you want to drive, but it's not necessary. You don't have to drive. I can drive. I can do it. All right, so we see those little bit of differences that when we're speaking in the positive, must, have to, need to, they all have the similar meanings, but that changes a little bit when we are speaking in the negative. And the way that that changes is that must or mustn't, must not, means absolutely no. In a different way, don't have to or don't need to means it's not a necessity, but you have the choice if you want to. Like with our second example, you don't have to drive. So you have a choice if you want to drive or if you don't want to drive. And you had that choice because I can do it. You don't have to drive. I can do it. Right? So that finishes our lesson on have to and need to and the ways in which they are similar and in the negative different than must. So a long lesson, there's a lot of really great information. And again, if you missed the video last week or if you want to review, if you want to study more, it is video 52, right? Wonderful. Okay, looks like we are doing well. Batula says must is to give an order. Must, yes, if we were giving an order, we would use must, absolutely. So when I was a child, of course, whatever my mother or my father told me to do, I tried to be a good child, so whatever my parents told me to do, I would do. So if after dinner my mother said, you must do the dishes, yes, that's an order. That's what she is telling me to do. My mother is in a position of authority over me. Same way with teachers. A teacher is, you can think of like the leader of the classroom. And so if they say you must study, they're not saying if you feel like it or if you want to. You must study is more like an order, okay, or a command. We're saying that this has to happen. You don't have a choice. In the same way, when I was a child and my mother said, you must do the dishes. She wasn't giving me a choice. She was saying that needed to be done, that had to be done. So great observation. Yes, must is stronger, so we would use that with like a command. Absolutely. Or we would say order. Great. Okay, lovely. Well, let's go on now. It's been a couple weeks since we've done vocabulary and of course teaching and certainly learning as well. We all have our favorite aspects or our favorite parts of English. My personal favorite is vocabulary. I love words. I love the different meanings that words can convey. So to convey, to show, and especially at this level with the pre-intermediate English, vocabulary is so important. As I've said before, vocabulary and words are like building a house. And if you only have a little bit of vocabulary, you can build a little house. But once you start learning more words and more vocabulary, you can start expanding that house. You can start building that house bigger. And again, the more words we know, the more we can say. And ultimately, the reason that we learn language to begin with, whether it's English or another language, our purpose in learning is that so we can communicate. And the more words you know, the better you can communicate. So vocabulary as a teacher, it's my favorite part of English to teach. So let's go ahead and jump into vocabulary. I'm going to do just a couple words review from last video with rich. So rich is an adjective. It's a describing word, of course. And if a person is rich or a country is rich, that means they're wealthy or they have a lot of money. So as a teacher, you do not become a teacher because you want to get rich, right? No one goes into teaching thinking that they're going to make a lot of money or that they're going to be very wealthy. As a teacher, I know that I'm never going to be rich, and that's perfectly fine because teaching, of course, you get your satisfaction not with money, not with being rich, but the experience and the love of teaching. So rich. Also make note that you can hear or use rich once more as an adjective in describing like food. So chocolate. I love chocolate. And we know there's different kinds of chocolate. If you just have a regular Hershey's chocolate bar, that tastes very different than if you have some fancy, very decadent, and decadent is just a big word for fancy or impressive. So if I have a truffle, so a little piece of chocolate that's very, very rich, you'd say if food is rich, you can only eat a little bit of it because it means it's so good and it's so intense. The flavor of the food is so intense that you only eat a little bit. So just know that you may hear rich used in the context of talking about food. But for our purposes and the way you'll most likely hear it, rich as in wealthy, have a lot of money. Save. All right, to save. Now, save, of course, is a verb, and it can mean two different things. Either to keep something, or to keep something safe. So, our example, I'm not going to eat this now. I'm going to save it for later. So, that way, it just means to keep. Right? So the young lady, she's not going to eat her food. Maybe it's a bit too rich to eat all of it, so she's going to save it for later. So she's going to keep it for later. We know that it's a good idea when you have money, don't spend it all. Don't just go spend it unless maybe you're lucky and you're rich. We know it's very smart to save some of your money. All right, and then save also means to keep safe. So to save someone from drowning, to save someone from a car, to keep safe, right? So save, either to keep, so I'm gonna keep this food until later, or to keep safe. Right? So someone saved me when I fell, right, to keep safe. Social. So social is an adjective once more, and it means relating to society. Well, what does that mean? Society is just people. All right. So every country has different cultures, has different societies. Society is just people or groups of people. So if you are social, we can hear social sounds similar because the root word is society, people. So if someone is social, here's our example. She's a very social person. She loves to be with her friends and family. It means you like being around people. If we're saying someone is social, it means they enjoy company, they enjoy being around people. In a different way, if someone does not enjoy being around people, does not enjoy being out in society, we would say they're antisocial. They like being alone. They don't want to be around a lot of people. So social is our adjective, and it means, relating to society, enjoying people. Studies. All right. And we know in English that there's a lot of words that it's the same word, but it can be different parts of speech. So studies. How are your studies going? In this way, studies is being used as a noun. So studies is the area or the field that you are studying. So if I asked, how are your studies going? I'm asking the things that you're studying. If you're at the university or you're in school or at college, your studies are what you are studying, what you are learning about. Now, we also know studies can be a verb, right? So he studies English. She studies mathematics. So studies can be both a noun or it can also be a verb, an action word. Successful. Successful, here's another adjective. Successful just means accomplished, right? You did something well. You accomplished something. Our example, the student will be very successful in life. I know that learning a new language can be very, very difficult. There is a lot to learn. And even with vocabulary, you will never stop learning. You will always be learning new words. I'm an English speaker and I still learn new words. The best way to be successful with English, as I mentioned, I think it's a really good idea to study, to practice, to review. Go back and watch these videos again. Find different ways to help yourself memorize this vocabulary. And if you do that, then I know you will be successful. So you will do well. You will be accomplished in your English language acquisition. And acquisition's just a big fancy word to mean acquire, to get. So successful. Timetable. This one I'm actually going to show you. So this is a timetable. Timetable is a noun. It's just a thing. And it's just like a list. It's different than a calendar because a calendar shows us the days of the week and the dates. Whereas a timetable, it's actually broken down. So it's a day or a week, it's a period of time, and then it's broken down into smaller sections. So with this timetable, has the days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then it has smaller parts where it breaks down the day in an hour. So our first part from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Maybe you ride the bus to school. From 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, you have your first class. From 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, you have your second class. So this is a timetable. It's a noun, and it's similar to a calendar in that it shows the days, but then it breaks it down smaller into hours or sets of time and what you need to be doing. So you can think of it like a schedule, a timetable, noun, similar to a schedule, right? So on our example, the timetable says that my next class will be at 3 o'clock. So when you're at university or you're in college, you have new classes and you'll get your schedule. So what class you have and what time you have it. And that's helpful because then you can make a timetable for yourself. Tour. Now, tour here again is one word that can be two different parts of speech. So tour first can be a noun, it can be a thing. So I will take a tour of the city when I arrive. So tour as a noun just means to go around to see the sights, see the most important things or the most interesting things in a city or in a place. So at SCEL, when people are interested in maybe being a student, we'll say, please come to school and take a tour. So go around the school, see what the classrooms are like, see what the teachers are like, see what our campus is like. Take a tour of our school. We also know that very often when we're on vacation or when we're on holiday and we go to visit someplace new, that it's very popular. A lot of people, most people will go to take a tour around the new city. So tour as a noun. Now, as I just said, it can also be a verb. So an example, when I'm in a new city, I like to tour around. So that just means to actually go around a new place. So someone visited SCEL, again, where I'm at, the Spokane College of English Language, you can say, we're going to go tour SCEL. So you can say, we're going to take a tour, or we are going to tour. And in both ways, it just means to look around or to learn new things. Most often, once more, we think of when we're on vacation or when we're on holiday, we go and tour around a new place, a new city, wherever we are at. So travel. Travel most often will be used as a verb, as an action. And once more, talking about vacations or holidays, you usually have to travel someplace. So that just means to go someplace, right? But we can also use travel as a noun. So if I said, what's the most amazing thing you've seen in your travels? So that is being used as a noun. What's the most amazing thing you've seen in your travels? So in your vacations, in your holidays, when you've gone and you've traveled someplace. So traveled as a verb, as an action to go someplace. Travel or travels also as a noun when you have gone someplace. So I would say that in all of my travels, probably my favorite food has been in Italy. So of all the places that I've traveled to, in all of my travels, I think that Italy has the best food. So there's travel as both a verb and a noun. All right, wash. I'm going to wash my car this afternoon. And it's true, I need to wash my car as well. Give me 1 second. I'm actually going to look over at our live feed. All right. So Leo says like a Tour de France. Tour de France is a bicycle race, and it's a very famous bicycle race. And Tour de France, it literally just means they're going around France. They're racing around France on a bicycle. So great observation, good example, Mr. Leo. Okay, great. Sama says, I hate timetables. Yeah, sometimes schedules. I hear ya. And then he says, I haven't washed my car recently. Yeah, I haven't either. And Natty says, wash, clean, equals clean. Absolutely. So to wash something just means to clean it. So to wash your car. At night before you go to bed, you probably wash your face. In the shower, you wash your hair. Now, the one little distinction is we don't say wash our teeth, we say brush our teeth. So you wash your face, you wash your hair, but you brush your teeth. We don't say wash your teeth, even though really that's what you're doing when you brush your teeth. You're washing them, you're making them clean. In the same way, wash your clothes, right? So wash just means to clean, and that would be a verb, of course. Wear. All right. So John always wears glasses. And know that wear, W-E-A-R, is very, very different than where, as in where are you going, which is W-H-E-R-E. Same sound, same pronunciation, totally different words. Where, as in where are you from? For our vocabulary, where, Joe always wears glasses. Just means to put on or to have on. So today I am wearing a blue shirt. I am lucky that I don't have to wear glasses. So I don't have to have glasses. So also know that wear, we can use wear in reference to something being old or being used a lot. So an example of that in Rome, Italy, the streets, as with a lot of places all around the world, the streets are very, very old, thousands of years old. So the streets are made of stone, but there's a lot of wear. There's a lot of wear on the stone. So, of course, a couple thousand years old, and all the people walking over those streets for 2,000 years, it wears down the streets. So, wear, not only wear as in to put on, or I'm wearing long sleeves this morning, but also wear as in has been traveled on, has been used, right? So wear. And again, same pronunciation as where are you going? Totally different meanings. While. Now, while, here's another one where we have multiple parts of speech, and in fact, with while, we have same word, but 4 different parts of speech. So, for our first example, while can be a period of time. So we can say, my friend and I, we got coffee and we talked for a while. So while as a noun, we talked for a while. It's a period of time. It can also be used as a conjunction. And with that, we would use it to mean during the same time or at the same time. So nothing changed while we were gone. Maybe we went We traveled to another country and we took a tour for a week, and when we came back home, nothing changed while we were gone. So at the same time, things changing at home, us traveling, at that same time, nothing changed. Nothing changed while we were gone. So that's while as a conjunction. We have while as an adverb. That means during which. So during which time. So our example sentence, the period while we are here. So if I was lucky enough to come visit you all, which that would be an incredible dream, wouldn't it? If I could come visit you all. And I'd say, what are we going to do while I'm here? What are you going to show me? If I travel to see you, and if you're going to give me a tour of your home city or your home country, what are we going to see while we are here? And then our last part of speech for while, and this one you probably won't hear very often, but I think it's important to know just in case you do. We can also use while as a verb, and it just means to pass time, to pass away the time. So as an example, reading is a good way to while away the time. So we would usually say while away or while a waste. And that is while being used as a verb, and it just means to pass the time, right? To use time, to while away the time. So an example, reading is a good way to while away the time. Wrong, as in what's wrong or what is wrong. Is there something wrong with your food? So sometimes the easiest, or I think the best way to learn words is to learn the synonyms. So words that mean the same, like good, great, excellent, awesome, amazing. Those can all be used synonymously because they are synonyms, different words that mean the same thing. And sometimes that's the most helpful way to learn vocabulary. Other times, I think it's the antonyms, so words that mean the opposite, that are most helpful. So the antonym of wrong would be right, wrong and right, or correct. Is there something wrong with your food? So we're saying, is something not right with your food? Is something not correct with your food? So if you get a wrong answer on a test, it just means you didn't get the correct answer. But as with our example, we can also ask someone, what's wrong? And we're literally just asking, what is not correct? What is not right? What's wrong? What is wrong? And zoo. So a zoo is a noun. It is a place, and it is a place where there are animals. But it's different than a farm, because you think, well, a farm, there's animals on a farm, but a zoo is a place where there are animals, but it's open to the public. So anyone can come and see these animals. Whereas a farm, yes, there's probably animals, but that farm belongs to someone. A zoo belongs to everyone. And many zoos, especially nowadays, so in recent memory, a lot of zoos keep animals if the animals are endangered. And if you've been watching the videos, you know that endangered is one of our past vocabulary words. So if animals are endangered, which means that there's not a lot of them, they need to be kept safe, otherwise they might go extinct, that a lot of animals will be cared for in a zoo. So a zoo, it's a noun, it's a place, and it's just a place where there are a lot of animals, and you can go see those animals. You can take a tour of the zoo. I think the closest zoo to Spokane is over in Tacoma, Washington, which is south of Seattle. Most people are familiar with Seattle, Washington. So if I wanted to go to the zoo, I would have to travel. I would have to travel to the other side of Washington State, and then I could go take a tour of the zoo. So zoo, place with animals. All right, looking over real quick at our comments and our questions, and once more, I know that there are comments, there are questions that I just don't have time to get to because the live feed is going so quickly. And if I'm not able to get to your comments or questions, please post those down below at the bottom of the video. All right. My apologies. I know that I'm going to mispronounce it. Duha, D-U-H-A, Duha. She says, you can take your children to the zoo. Yes. Taking children to the zoo is a very popular thing to do, of course, as we see with this example, because even as we mentioned earlier in the video, children are still exploring, they're still learning about the world, and a great thing to learn about is animals and the different animals that we share the world with. So yes, zoos are a very popular place to take children. Absolutely. All right. Let's look at other. Vinci says zoos are expensive. Only rich cities can afford to have zoos. Zoos are expensive because, again, there's a lot of animals, and animals have to be taken care of. And taking care of animals can get expensive, absolutely. So I would agree with you that, yes, zoos probably almost always are going to be in big cities. Big cities have more people. More people means the city is richer. There's our vocabulary word. And so that would enable a city to have a zoo. So Vinci, I think absolutely correct in that observation. It's usually big cities or rich cities have zoos. There's not a lot of small towns or villages that would have a zoo. So with that, and Yasin says, zoos are awesome, but it's not acceptable to feed animals in the zoo. Yeah, usually they say don't feed the animals. You must not feed the animals. They're saying don't do it. It's not if you want to, or you have the option or the choice. No, it's saying you must not feed the animals at the zoo. So yes, wonderful example. Yazin. Oh, Rosa says, oh, you've been able to travel to Australia and see the zoo in Australia. I bet that was fantastic. Leo says, why keep animals in jail? Well, yeah, sometimes zoos, hopefully zoos are not keeping animals in jail. Hopefully they're keeping them safe. And again, now it's very popular, or a lot more zoos have animals, not just so that people can see them and go travel and take a tour of the zoo. A lot more zoos now have the animals to keep them safe. So yes, very, very true, Mr. Leo. Great. All right. Well, my goodness, it's already the end of class. Class goes by so quickly. We have a saying or an idiom in America or in English. It says, time flies when you're having fun. Well, we know that flies, like birds fly or planes fly, when we say time flies, we don't mean it literally is up in the air. It means it goes by quickly. So time flies when you're having fun. Just means time goes by quickly when you're having fun. Because usually we know when you're not having fun or you're not enjoying yourself, time seems to go on forever. Time seems to go very slowly, but it goes quickly when you're having fun. And hopefully you've had fun. Hopefully you have enjoyed today's lesson as always. I always enjoy and have fun being here with you. So with that, we will end today's video. Again, once it's posted, if you have comments or questions that I was not able to get to, just scroll to the bottom, post them there. And while you're there, if you enjoyed today's video with me, Abby, and pre-intermediate English, give a thumbs up. And as a teacher, I'm giving you all the thumbs up because you are fantastic. You're wonderful, and I'm so glad that you were able to join me today. And with that, as always, I wish you a good morning, a good afternoon, a good evening, or a good night. And next week, I will actually be on vacation. I'm going to be on vacation. I'm going to travel to California. So I'm very excited about that. So next week, Mr. Neil will be teaching pre-intermediate English. So we know Mr. Neil does other videos. He's fantastic. So I will be on vacation next week. I'm going to travel to California, but Mr. Neil will be here, and I will see you all again in 2 weeks' time. So once more, thanks so much for joining us. Have a wonderful day, my fantastic friends and students.
Hi everyone, thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to our channel. Also, if you want the full experience of being a student in a Smrt Live class with things like homework and teacher feedback, follow the link and become a premium subscriber. Also, if you want to see more videos from this class, check out our playlist.